Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Waxcast podcast. I am your host, Gavin Wax. This is episode 20. Today I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Seth from the Venice Beach Dub Club. He's also the host of Talkie Time on Instagram, where he's had me as a guest many a times. And I'm very happy to bring him back onto my show for the first time so we can reverse roles here a bit. But Seth, thanks for coming on.
Hey, it's my pleasure, buddy. Great to see you.
And for the live stream viewers, we had a bit of a technical issue. The Chinese had shut down Seth's live stream. They didn't want him speaking truth to power, but now we're back.
It's your Christmas party. It's the punishment.
Exactly. But anyway, I also wanted to let our viewers know that Seth is the reason, in part, for the Waxcast. He told me to start a podcast. He had the idea, a great name, Waxing Poetic, which maybe will become the spin-off series on Instagram. I'm not sure because I still like that name. But it's kind of thanks to you. So I'm glad we finally have you on the iconic 20th episode here.
That's awesome, bro. I'm stoked to be here.
Now, we usually talk politics and a whole slew of things, but being on your show, you could talk about anything, and there's a whole wide range of topics that I know we can talk about. And I kind of want to just do a little bit of a different episode today. So if it goes into politics, it goes into politics. If it doesn't, even better. I kind of want to talk about like fringe topics. So I'm thinking we just go through all like the list of like paranormal things and things that are like sort of like conspiracy theories, whatever they are, and we just hash them out. So let's start off here. Aliens. Do you believe in aliens?
Well, I mean,
great, easy question.
I allow space for it. You know what I mean? Like it's anything I can think of can be real because I'm not, more creative than God, obviously. So yeah, I allow space for it. If I have to make a bet, like if my life's on the line and I have to bet, I'll go 51%. It's angels and demons and not outer space aliens. But I'm not. I don't have any special evidence to prove it.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask you, because I know you're a Christian, and it would just be interesting to know from your angle, like, because there are people that would say, oh, more like the lines of angels and demons and that sort of thing. And, aliens is just another name for it. So it is interesting. I mean, do you think, they visited Earth, there's been abductions? Do you think the UFOs, like, do you believe in UFOs? Do you think those are connected?
Well, I definitely believe there's unexplainable objects in the sky. I mean, in my own life, I've seen one time just random orange lights float overhead, and it was the kind of experience where your eyes tell you right away this is some kind of new special data. It's not an airplane, it's not a drone. You're like, wow, I'm seeing something. So, it's unidentified. So I have no idea what the source of the phenomenon is. I'm more interested over and all in why people dismiss phenomenon in general or assign more importance to things that are known as opposed to things that are unknown. You know what I mean? Like not to go off on a rabbit hole or on a
No, this is good. We love rabbit holes on the Waxcast. Dig that hole.
Aristotle had a way of classifying information, and Donald Rumsfeld kind of brought this back into popular parlance, speaking about Iraq with our known unknowns and our unknown unknowns. Then, of course, you have your known knowns and your unknown knowns. We have a lot of unknowns that make it impossible to really decipher what's going on. Even with something basic like politics, you see when things just don't add up and don't make sense and it just puzzles your brain and it's frustrating. It's because we're missing huge chunks of information. Because we don't know what that stuff is, we don't assign any importance to it. So our whole cosmetology is missing these major, huge chunks of the puzzle, and we just kind of ignore it. We're like, if we can't know what it is, let's just proceed as if it doesn't exist, as opposed to spending more energies trying to figure out the stuff that is really shadowy to us that's important to the whole. So when it comes to aliens specifically, I hope not. Like, I'm not stoked for outer space aliens. I think it would be a little overwhelming. I'm pretty busy right now with an election, the end of a nation maybe, or a rebirth of a nation. So it's a busy time for aliens to come too. Like they could have come, any point during Obama's administration when, it's just kind of par for the course.
I like that viewpoint. I mean, I'm kind of done with 2020. I don't want to end up with anything, but it's been popping up. People have been seeing them. The Pentagon has been releasing more information, like they're easing into it almost like, oh, here, like these are all the unidentified objects we've seen. These are unexplainable. We have no idea what they are. They're not us. They're not the Chinese. We don't know who that is.
Unfortunately, all the dispatches we're going to get are coming from known liars. Like it's like straight from the Pentagon to the mainstream media to me. So it's like these people are all known liars all the way up the chain. So, I would trust any of their information. I assume they're just trying to build a narrative for their own ends for some reason. I have no idea what that would be, but the way people describe aliens doesn't interest me because they just sound like people, like all their motivations are like people motivations. Like, oh, they want to travel to faraway places so they can see what's there, explore, experiment. They want to give us technology in exchange for us doing something. It's like, well, they sound like people, I would expect aliens to be have an alien mindset or way
Right.
of sets of desires and wants and motivations, but it just sounds like people that are going to look a little different. So, I mean, we're already very comfortable with people that look all different kinds of ways. So
Yeah.
it would just be more people, you know. And I also don't buy into the idea that we're incapable of making our own technology. It's all hand me downs from aliens, because that
Yeah.
creates a first observer problem with who gives them the technology. And if they can be creative on their own, then why can't we? So I don't know. I think there's a lot. I don't buy into the whole alien thing the way it's been presented so far. It doesn't really fit well with me.
I agree. That's why I don't really subscribe to like ancient alien theory, because basically all ancient alien theory is like, oh, humans are dumb and there's no way they could have done any of these things, so it
Right.
must be aliens. It's just a lazy way of thinking, and we'll get to this after. I definitely want to hammer into it, but it's like, everything that we've seen throughout humanity has been that humans are very smart. They've adapted, they've changed, and underestimating them. I think it's more likely, like if you look at things like the pyramids or the Sphinx or whatever the things like people ascribe to aliens, all these big megalithic structures. It was probably humans. It was probably earlier humans and more advanced humans from like the pre-flood era, which ties into religion and Atlantis and all that other stuff. But that's another discussion. But I also
Right.
like what you.
A more interesting question would be, where does the idea for a pyramid or the idea from
Yeah.
anything come from, as opposed to who came up with the idea and how? What is an idea? Where are they coming from? Should we engage with them? Is it dangerous? I mean, these are just things that no one spends any time thinking about because it doesn't apply directly to any problems.
Yeah, in their
It
day-to-day
applies
life. There's
directly to every problem that we don't know what the heck is going on, really. We don't know
Yeah.
where we are, what we are, what's going on in general. We just kind of ignore that and plunge forward into minutia and details about politics and stuff without even knowing what the shape of the earth is. Honestly, I mean, no one can say for sure in this room, you know. I don't know. It's
this
not
is
my
why I
nature to
wanted to
think, but you know.
this is why I wanted to bring you on, but you also kind of you could have kind of took a shot at both me and you, because we love delving into the minutia of politics on your show.
Oh yeah,
So
no, I love it. Yeah, I do
yeah.
love it. Yeah, but I try to be whole, like the idea of holism, and attach it to the whole. Like it connects to the pyramids and the great mysteries. I mean, why was John Kerry, the Pope, and all these important political people in Antarctica 2016 election eve? Why'd they go? I mean, that's a major part of the puzzle. There's so many crazy things happened in the previous election. How can we possibly
Wait, what
understand
happened?
them?
What happened? There were people in Antarctica.
Yeah,
Who was
yeah.
in Antarctica?
John Kerry, the Pope, a whole bunch of politicos, high-ranking Obama people. I think Macron was there. Presidents from other countries. I don't know what they were doing there. They don't have a good reason for it, but it was publicized that they were going. So, I mean, how can we possibly understand what happened on election night in 2016 if all of the most powerful people in the world were in Antarctica for unknown reasons? Like, we can't just brush that to the side and work with what we have left. We're not going to be able to make anything cohesive.
I've
So,
never even heard that before. I mean, that's crazy. I
yeah,
got to look that
it's a
up.
real thing that happened. It's not a theory. I mean, who knows why, but
They were in like what? Like in one of those those bases, because it's pretty uninhabitable down there.
well, who knows? You're not allowed to go visit. You can only go inland for like 100 miles, and that's the limit you're allowed to go. You can't fly over or anything. The Rothschilds own an island there. I mean, I wish this stuff wasn't so, because I don't want to sound like a crazy person, but these are all public details. So it's like, it's obviously important. Like, these are important people doing something important. It's an important night, election night. So we try to figure out what happened, and we're missing like a whole, I don't know what you want to call it, like spiritual or magical aspect to it. That, listen, the most powerful people in the world believe in magic. You know what I mean? And it's us, plebs down here that are like, oh, how childish magic. Meanwhile, the people who are our rulers operate on astrology and they operate on ley lines. It's not a coincidence. They build every national monument in Washington, D.C. on the 33rd parallel, which is where the Great Pyramids are also on that, and the Eiffel Tower, and everything goes along this. So they understand what this stuff is. They understand symbols. They understand this occulted history, and they use this stuff to maintain power. And then at the same time, they've got us feeling sheepish that if we bring it up, we're going to lose our opportunity of power because our fellow man is going to kind of disregard us as a tinfoil hat wearer. But truly, you need to know this stuff if you want to be able to compete with these billionaires and world leaders.
That's interesting. I mean, I kind of like that. I like that way of thinking. I mean, what do you think? I mean, you buy into astrology and like signs and all
Well,
that.
J.P. Morgan is the one that said the difference between millionaires and billionaires is that billionaires have astrologists. So,
Interesting.
yeah, so of course, and here we are in the beginning of the age of Aquarius on December 21st, and the Christmas star is here for the first time in thousands of years, and people are trying to change the course of the world. We can see that the old world is gone. We're not going back to the America of 2019 or of 2009 or of 99 or 89 or any of the decades of my life. We're not going back to that. What we're going to is going to be a golden age or a dystopian hell. We don't know, but an era has ended astrologically and also here in our society. So the people who are taking advantage of these changes and trying to craft things to go in their preferred direction, they understand this stuff and know all about it. So if we want to compete with them, which is what we're trying to do right now, is wrestle power actually back to the people, we need to be able to look honestly at everything, because they have a whole area of experience and knowledge that we don't even touch.
Yeah, I mean, hidden knowledge is definitely a thing. And I mean, all these concepts you're talking about are super ancient. I mean, especially about like the symbology and, talking about like the parallels and all this stuff. I mean, aligning with the stars and the different epochs, aligning with
Yeah,
different, astrological signs. I mean, that was stuff ancient Egyptians did. That was stuff ancient Greeks did. All these
sure.
ancient civilizations did. They weren't necessarily stupid. I do think there is some kind of arrogance in modernity where we think we know it all, or we think we know everything through science and science.
Scientism, relying on experts. I mean, these are all tricks we've been led into. It's like, well, 2020 should be for everyone the last year you ever trust an expert again. I mean, which expert do you want to trust? Do you want to trust a medical expert, or do you want to trust a polling expert? Or I mean, like, what kind of expert
Right.
has any validity left to them after?
Well, it's a way to keep you just sort of small-minded and not open-minded. And I'm not saying everything we may discuss is true. I'm not saying every conspiracy is true, but I respect someone who has an open mind,
Yeah.
who's at least, like you're saying, willing to delve into it and talk about it and examine it, rather than just dismiss it and be like, oh, I trust the experts, I trust the science, when the science today was different from, 10 years ago. The experts today were different from, 20 years ago. They're not saying the same thing. And, there's a lot we don't know, and there's a lot of things science can't explain, and they may never be able to explain. So you
Well,
have to be able to embrace that.
the only thing we know for sure about science is that current science is always incorrect, and the orthodoxy is always replaced by the heterodoxy, and then that
Yep.
gets replaced by the new heterodoxy. So the whole idea
That's
of
real science. What you just described is actual science.
actual science, sure, which is a product of the church. Science was trying to understand how God made everything and why, So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's become in modern day, like, I mean, this is a super important concept. Like, science has become the chief religion of the Western world, replacing Christianity, which is what gave us the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, the age of, not the age of reason, but it gave us Americanism in 1776.
Yep.
All our founding fathers were informed by Christianity, chiefly in a belief in God. So that's been replaced with scientism, and we can see the result. Like, what do people trust in? They trust in experts, not God. They don't have faith. They don't care about the word. They don't care about tradition. They only care about the daily dispatch of the leading scientists and expert.
Amen. I agree with everything you're saying. I mean, I think, a lot of the decline in the West and the decline in our civilization, either in terms of spirituality or just happiness or prosperity, a lot of that could be attributed to just diverging away from God and godliness and embracing it. And it's sort of this arrogance that's come with
Right.
modernity, which
Sure.
I never bought. I don't think we're the best we've ever been. I think, maybe there are some aspects technologically that we're better in, maybe not all aspects. I
I
don't
mean,
think we're necessarily,
maybe. Who
maybe,
knows?
yeah. I don't
Who
think we're
knows? I mean,
smarter than we were. I don't think we're happier than we were. I don't think we're better
I
off
don't
than we
know
were
if
in
we're
every way.
smarter than we were. I think we're far dumber than we were, because
Yeah.
we keep burning all our great libraries. We burnt the Library of Alexandria. We burnt
Yep.
Jefferson's Monticello. You know what I mean? They'll burn down the internet eventually once they have everything on there, Ray Bradbury style. You know what I mean? So
It's true. It's
some
true. I mean, we're only a few degrees away from the left burning books anyway. I mean, so
right.
it's
I mean,
it's not
a perfect example is the Mark of the Beast. Just to look at this whole system and how people get labeled as woo woo, fringe, conspiracy theorists. So take Mark of the Beast, right? It says in Revelations, it's thousands of years old. Everyone's totally familiar. You'll have to have a mark on your right hand or your forehead to buy, sell, or trade. This is in the end times, right? So now you fast forward to 2020, and we're getting medical passports. We're getting luciferase ink tattoos, quantum tattoos. You're going to need that to buy and sell. So then people ask me, they say, Seth, do you really believe that Revelations is going to come true? And I say, why are you asking me? I'm not a powerful person doing anything to you. Why don't you ask the people who are already doing it if they believe it? And by the way, it doesn't matter if they believe it, because they're doing it. It's happening right now. They've read the Bible. They know what the Mark of the Beast is. They've decided to do it in real life. Maybe they just think it's a cool plan and they don't even believe in the Bible, but somebody should ask them why they're doing it and if they believe this stuff is true in prophecy.
I mean, it's scary. I mean, it's definitely not. I mean, we're heading in that direction. I mean, all the stuff you just mentioned is it's out there. It's happening. They've been
Right.
talked about openly. I mean, it's not crazy. It's not.
Why are they trying to bring prophecy to life? I mean, somebody should ask them. I mean, if I was one of these reporters who actually gets to ask a question to these people, I would ask something like that.
So do you think all magic, to bring it back to what we were talking about earlier, do you think all magic is tied to the occult and it's evil, or what?
Well, occult just means hidden from view.
True, fair, fair, fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, magic is technology we don't understand, and technology is not, we think of technology as like a machine, as machines, metals, silicon, stuff like that. Like communication is the first technology, I think maybe
Yeah,
thinking is the first technology, the ability to find these ideas. Like we're detecting ideas with some sense inside of our head, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
so first of all, we're able to detect these ideas. Maybe we didn't used to be. Maybe monkeys can't detect the idea to use a stick to get some bugs out of a tree or whatever it is they do. So we have that technology. We have the technology of communicating with each other, getting on the same page. Persuasion is a technology. The more I talk to you, I'm overwriting your ideas with my ideas, and then you start talking and it's happening to me. So these are all technologies. And yeah, so all magic is just a technology that we don't understand how it's working, for one. And some of it is stuff we're doing, not that aliens gave to us. Social media is magic. Twitter is magic. Like all of a sudden, you've got 8% of the world's population on Twitter, and they can retrofit the rest of the world to their opinions. So
Hmm.
these are all technologies that are, somewhere in between. Like we know how a toaster works. There's no magic in a toaster oven, but
Right.
there's some magic in social media still. And then there's
Magic is just the hidden knowledge, the hidden tech, whatever it is.
unexplained technology, basically. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
And you think that, I mean, we were talking earlier about elites using it. Do you think they're using it in terms of like, is it tied to some kind of religion, some kind of cult that's not within, our, a Judeo Christian or Christian, whatever type of framework?
Absolutely. I mean, Satanism is a real thing, and most of the most powerful people in the world, especially entrenched powers, are at least compatible with Satanism because the Vatican Church is satanic. The people who run the banking cartels are satanic. I mean, literally, they believe in a fallen angel called Satan that gives you special powers when you're willing to lie, cheat, steal. You're able to you get the reins of this physical world that we live in. Like if you're an honest Christian man, God fearing man, you don't have the reins of great power unless God anoints you with it. You know what I mean? The only way to get it without God is to go through Satan, which is like you're allowed to sin basically. So these people, their whole religion is basically they're allowed to do ends justify the means, do as thou will, stuff like that. So of course that is like that's a hidden religion basically right there. I mean, we have a satanic church in LA and there's some statues of Baphomet here and there, but people don't understand it's like one of the major American religion is Satanism. And I would say everyone who considers himself an atheist, that's like Satanism light.
Mm,
Basically they're like, yeah, I'll still be moral because I can and I'm intelligent, and like intelligence can breed morality and not only faith. But I mean, then we see the results and we abort like 51 million babies a year or whatever it is. And it's like, boy, like atheists don't have the same values. You know what I mean? So
right.
that's the religion that's moving this country right now is Satanism. Absolutely. Just the belief that you can do whatever you want. You can make up your own morals that are distinct from your conscience. Like you can feel your conscience tell you no, but the Surgeon General told you it's good to reach down and pleasure a 5-year-old child, teach him how to masturbate. That was a real Surgeon General that said that. So you hear that and you're like, it's legal. If the Surgeon General comes out and says, do heroin. It's okay. Now we have a Narcan. You can't overdose. We'll give you clean needles. There's nothing to worry about. Just do it. It goes against your morals. It goes against your conscience, but you get it from an authority figure. And then you feel that you've been given permission to go ahead and do it. So that's kind of shaping the attitude of this country. Just people believing that your morality can be dictated to you by rulers.
Do you think, like, because you're on the West Coast, you're in California, and I've read stuff like on the conspiracy theory side of stuff that a lot of Hollywood, a lot of big musicians, celebrities, etc. They're all into this stuff. They're all into this sort of satanic occultism, Hotel California type of thing. With the lyrics. I mean, what do you
Yeah.
think of all that? The adrenochrome.
Yeah, I mean, adrenochrome is a real thing, obviously. I don't know how widespread it is, but like I said, everyone in a powerful position or who's been around high society for a while is at least compatible with Satanism and not against it, not offended by it, at least openly. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. I mean, human trafficking is a real thing that is
Right.
still halfway in the conspiracy theory part of my brain, because I mean, I look at all these theories and they go into a maybe part of my brain. It's like, here's the maybes over here. And even probably not, like Satanism, adrenochrome. It goes into there's evidence for it, but it goes into a part of your brain that's like, yeah, probably not. Then when you find out it's absolutely confirmed and real, it's a very, very difficult process to move it out of the probably not
Because you don't want to believe it.
brain into the daily operating system of your brain. That's like, this is information that's real, just like the sun is up, just like the temperature is 65 degrees. Also, people are killing babies and drinking their adrenochrome because they think it helps them communicate with other dimensional beings. I mean, it's just a real thing.
Now, shifting gears a bit, I mean, it's kind of sticking with like the religion and spirituality. No, don't worry, don't worry. We're sticking with it. We're sticking with it. What do you, what do you think of like, ghosts, spirits, the afterlife, that kind of thing?
Well, I mean, there's obviously tons of stuff going on around us that we can't sense. So we kind of, I mean, our whole concept of dimensions is based around things that we can detect, like length, width, depth, time, but there's tons of other moving forces around us that we don't have senses to interact with. So yeah, I imagine we're swimming in a soup, just like we've discovered we have a biome of intelligent creatures in our stomach that send signals up our central nervous cord, up our spine to our brain. Your gut biome, how it can affect your mood, and we know now you can have candida bacteria in your stomach that'll make you crave sugar and change your moods and stuff like that.
I started taking probiotics. I feel fantastic now.
Awesome, bro. Well, at your age, you should just, if you're not feeling fantastic now, you're going to feel terrible later.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's better. I feel better. I didn't feel horrible before, but I feel better.
Nice. Well, in the same sense that we have that gut biome in us, I'm sure we're in a biome. Just the idea of an atmosphere, like we take it for granted. We're not in air. We're in liquid right now. Where I'm in like gases, liquids, everything. If you were to go to a fish, this is a famous old joke. If you go to a fish and you say, "How's the water?" the fish is going to say, "What the hell is water?"
Right.
It's just in it every day. That's all it. That's it. It's used to it. So we don't know what the ether is that we're in and what exists within it. And I'm sure there's intelligence. I'm sure there are. I mean, ghosts and stuff like that. I'm sure it's possible. I don't know exactly how that aligns with heaven and hell and limbo and other ideas, but a lot of these ideas don't fit neatly together. But that doesn't mean that they're all wrong, So
Yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I've had, experiences with this kind of stuff. I know a lot of people have. It's hard to doubt it. I mean, it's been going on for so long. So many people have seen things, they felt things, they've heard things. I mean, either they're all having, some kind of coincidence, or they're all just lying, or they're all just crazy, or maybe there's some truth to something. Maybe there's a world, and maybe there are things we don't know, which is what no one wants to accept.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I just don't have any way to give you any information about it, or to learn any information about it, and I'm not really trying to do a bunch of DMT right now or anything like that. So, but I listen to the people that have, and all of it kind of makes sense to me,
Fair. And then the other thing, I mean, we were talking about earlier with this, like, the aliens, demons, angels, ancient aliens, all that stuff. Like, you look at like things like the pyramids, you look at like these ancient megaliths, these constructions, they're super advanced. They're things that we couldn't build today. And they kind of go against everything we're taught, that history is just like this progressive linear, that we just keep getting better and better. When it's like, if you went back, we wouldn't have been able to build the Great Pyramids for the most part. I mean, there are things.
Or a cathedral, by the way. When's the last time somebody built a beautiful cathedral? You have to go visit old ones. Obviously, people like them enough to go line up and visit and get airplane tickets and go to Europe and try to see the old world. It's like, why can't we do what we did at the World's Fair of 1913? Why can't we build any of that kind of Tartarian architecture anymore? I mean, and to say that we were smarter in the past is like a wild assumption. I mean, to say that we're smarter now than in the past,
Agreed,
seems like an incorrect assumption to me, because a perfect example I love to use is curry, right? So now we have turmeric. Everyone take turmeric, especially if you have inflammation, you have arthritis, take a ton of turmeric. But you want to take some black pepper with it, because there's a chemical in that called piperine that'll help the turmeric absorb better into your system. Why don't you just go ahead and have curry with the cinnamon, the cumin, the cardamom, and find out why it works together later? Because obviously they had this figured out thousands of years ago in India. They're eating curry. It's all the things that work together and happens to smell right and taste right when you eat it. And now
ancient knowledge,
Western science is just catching up with that. Like, oh, congratulations! Today we figured out cardamom is also good. Take some cardamom too. Just go ahead and eat the curry and don't worry about it. They had it figured out. We'll learn why later, but
we'll catch up. But it's arrogance. That's what it is. It's arrogance. They don't want to admit it, and that happens all the time. I mean, that's happening all the time. People are always figuring out. It's like you always see an article. It's like, oh wow, scientists just discovered this old tradition actually makes sense. But it's not even just like things you eat or whatever. It's just traditions in general. Whether it's like marriage, the nuclear family, or all these different concepts that we've held true for thousands of years because they work. All of a sudden, this century rolls around, and we're just trying to turn everything on its head and reinvent the wheel, and it's a giant experiment, and we're all suffering because of it.
I agree. Yeah, and how could we have been dumber in the past? I mean, in the current day, we don't know where our food comes. We drive a car we rely on. We don't know how any of it works. We wouldn't be able to fix it if it broke. We half of our country relies on the government just giving them money to survive. So how could we possibly have been any dumber at any time in history than we are right now?
Yeah, it's crazy times. I mean, do you think we're living through some pretty crazy historical times or epoch
Oh,
or what?
absolutely, absolutely. Bigger than 1776. Yeah, the bigger than all the. I think we're living through, maybe not the final World War, but an actual World War with the entire world engaged against the United States. And I don't know what the uniting factor is. I don't know who is the head of that table. But I don't understand why China, the UN, the WTO, the IMF, the CFR, every European nation, the EU. I don't understand how they're all on the exact same game plan and they can roll out something like lockdowns tomorrow. You know what I mean? Without
Right.
even getting together in person and having a meeting, they can do something unprecedented, bigger than anything that's ever happened in history. They can do it anytime they want. They're all on the same page and they're all supposed to be enemies. So somebody will
The
have to
Great
turn.
Reset stuff. This I mean, what is all this nonsense? All of a sudden, they're all preaching the same thing. It's all
Yeah,
kind of like this
exactly.
really creepy ideology. We're going to rebuild the world. We're going to reset it. I mean, they're not even hiding how creepy it is. It's very weird.
Yeah, and how many times do you think they've reset us before? Why don't we know why curry works?
Yeah.
Why do we have all this gaps in our knowledge? It's because they keep resetting us every time we get too good or too godly or free
Well,
of
that's what I
the.
was going to say before. That's kind of what a lot of people say with the Great Flood, because they say, you and me, biologically modern humans, have been around supposedly like 200,000 years, but human civilization is only 4,000 years old. So it's like, what the hell were humans doing for the other 196 100,000 years? It doesn't make any sense, especially if you see how much technology has jumped between us and our grandparents or our great grandparents. Why did civilization only emerge 4,000 years ago? Or is it possible that civilization is constantly reset through either natural calamities or whatever, and maybe the pyramids are even older than they said they were, and they're from a previous era, and all this knowledge and secrets and things that have been passed down from previous civilizations, which has all been lost. I mean, they were always human, but we lost it, and then the Bible talks about it, that kind of stuff. I mean, what do you believe about that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, like the official story, the only official stories we have come from the known liars, and the people who exhibit behavior that they don't even like us. They're lying to us. They don't even like us. They think we're profane and dirty and just need to be ruled and silenced and just be like cogs in some machine. We don't even know what the machine is. So I mean, it all comes back to what's really more important: analyzing the minutia of the stuff that we understand, or really turning our attention to the huge blind spots that we don't know anything about, such as that alternative histories, conspiracy theories, things like adrenochrome, things like what's going on in Hollywood. Why is it all the satanic imagery? How come they have pyramids everywhere? Why do we have not monoliths, but what do you call them? Like the Washington Monument. Why do we have those
Obelisks.
obelisks? Why do we have those all over the world? I mean, you're shamed for asking these questions. So that's obviously where we need to go digging more, because I think they're stoked to have us just following the political news of the day and getting, today Josh Hawley said he was going to object to the certification of electoral votes. That's like the story of the day, but it doesn't move me any closer to understanding anything or getting any more powerful, which is what I want.
Do you buy into Q? Do you believe the whole Q movement and what they've been saying?
Absolutely. It has so much energy around it, man, that there's no way you can disregard it. And I love using analogies, so I'll say this. If you're driving in your car every day and you come to the same stoplight and you're pulling up, it's turning yellow, what's going to happen next? Make a prediction after it's turning yellow.
Turns red.
Right. So now you've got someone in the car with you one day, or carpooling with a guy, and he's like, not today, not tomorrow. I can't tell you the day. It's going to turn blue. And when it does turn blue, you better be ready. And then one day it turns blue. You know what I mean? That's what QAnon is. They're making impossible predictions of things that can't even happen, and then it comes true. So, I mean, it has nothing to do with my personal biases. Like, I'm not, I wasn't waiting for like a patriot religious movement like that of having faith in Trump. I wasn't looking for anything like that in my life. I became convinced by their ability to make impressive, almost impossible predictions. So yeah, not only do I think Q is real, I think they have access to some sort of uh, ability to look into the future or to travel into the past or something like that. I mean, I think it's evidenced, honestly, if you pay attention to it.
I mean, some people will say it's kind of a weird conspiracy because it kind of has a happy ending and everything ends up working out for the best. I mean, what do you think of that?
I think that they're farming optimism from us as a way to fight the people who are farming fear from us. So if you really step back and look at the big picture of what's happening in 2020, we've got this world war, like I mentioned, which is really not even America versus China or anything like that. It's more like fear versus hope. The whole world is very easy to control if everyone's afraid. So we've got the mainstream media, all of these supranational organizations, all of our intelligence agencies, all telling us to be afraid, to give up hope. It's going to be a dark winter. And then we have the other side. We have Trump and QAnon specifically, a Trumpism, whatever you want to call it, MAGA. And they're saying, keep the faith, keep the trust the plan. So if it's a war going on and there's two sides, one is saying fear, you're going to get a bad result, and the other side is saying trust, you're going to get a good result. And I've aligned myself with one of those sides. I have my marching orders. My marching orders are only to speak trust, faith, we're going to get a good result, because that's what's important to them. The people that are leading Trumpism, that are leading QAnon, we matter to them. Our optimism is important to them. They need it. They're trying to foster that in us. So if they're giving us false hope, it's only to create a better outcome. So it wouldn't even be false hope. It would be hope for a potential future, kind of like A Christmas Carol, when the ghost of Christmas future is showing Ebenezer Scrooge his future, and he says, is this future set in stone or only things that may come? Right? So QAnon is telling us about things that may come and hoping that our optimism is going to make it more likely that it does come, is what I believe about it.
So you believe in like free will, nothing's predetermined, nothing's destiny, that kind of thing?
Correct. Yeah. Well, I don't know if the two of them are necessarily tied together in that way, but I do believe in free will.
So
And I do believe in different timelines. You know, there's prophecies that clash with each other that could both be true if you simply had other timelines existing or whatever. If some people say alternate dimensions, I don't like that terminology. But if you had other timelines, other instances of this story, if this story was repeating in different ways ad infinitum, then there's room for every theory. But
if you believe in alternate timelines, though, do you think people can, travel between them? Do you think there are people or beings
I
that
mean,
are going?
I think if you can ask that question, then it can be done. I don't think you can think of a thought that there's not potential for in God's creation, because
Interesting.
we're necessarily smaller than the system we exist in. That's like a mathematical concept, like set size. So we're smaller than the set we exist within. Anything we can think of, it can't be larger than the set. Just like in Grand Theft Auto, you can steal a tank, you can punch a hooker, you can fly a helicopter, but you can't do something the programmers didn't allow for. You can't
True.
leave game space. You can't get some kind of vehicle they didn't put in there. So in that same sense, all of our ideas are allowed. They're part of the ether. So if you can ask that question, can you jump from one timeline to another? Then the answer is obviously yes, you can.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, well, all right. Now let me just think about what my next question was going to be. No,
And
that's
this ties in a lot to Barron Trump. A lot of people get a weird. I just get a feeling from him with there's a bunch of different. I wouldn't call it information, but guesses about Barron Trump. But I don't know. People have a lot of different ideas about. There's a book written in 1799 called Barron Trump's Amazing Adventures, where there's a kid called Barron Trump that has a spirit figure accompanying him called Donnie, Uncle Donnie, and together they time travel to Russia. Yeah.
what
And there's a picture of Barron Trump on the cover of it, like a hand drawing of a kid that looks exactly like Barron Trump. So yeah,
are we in a matrix?
reality always
Crazy
exceeds
stuff.
fiction for strangeness.
I
Sorry,
mean,
go
this
ahead.
is some crazy stuff. This is some trippy stuff. I mean, but are we in a matrix then? I mean, if that's kind of what you're saying, like if it's within the parameters, you use GTA and you said the programmers can only let you be within this kind of constructed world, are we operating within a constructed world like a matrix? I mean, or what?
I mean, even if you're a Bible lawyer and you go strictly by the Bible, yeah, I mean, you're you're in some sort of a closed set. Yeah, absolutely. Matrix. I mean, when people argue about simulation theory, which for some reason is allowed to be mainstream, like I love how like Sam Harris and Neil deGrasse Tyson get to pick what you're allowed to think about and what you're not allowed to think about. But you're
That's
allowed to.
that's very true. There are that's a good point. There are like approved kind of like conspiracy theory or kind of like fringe theories that you're allowed to discuss, but there's
Sure.
others that you're not. It's a very
Because
interesting.
they've thought of a way to couch it in a fashion that'll move you further away from faith in God. All of their narratives have to do with destroying God, so that's why they do simulation theory. But like they didn't come up with much with simulation theory, because what's the difference between creation and a simulation?
Yeah, it all comes back to it. I mean, they just use different words. It's all
Right.
semantics for them. They just change the words around, but deny the underlining
And
premise of God.
it defies your instincts to believe that you're in an open set. Like the universe is changing shapes, it's changing size. We don't know if it's going to get bigger or smaller. That defies everything. That's an unknown known. Like I mentioned in the beginning, we have different classifications of information. An unknown known is that we are in a closed set. It's obvious. You know what I mean? It takes a lifetime of forgetting it or not thinking of it or being shamed for thinking of it. But we understand that there's a finite size to creation. You know what I mean? That's just something we have. We have that information already, and we spend our whole lives forgetting it. So whether it's a matrix, a simulation, God's creation, some combination of those, like, yeah, I mean, you exist within a limited set of possibilities, but good luck exhausting them in one human lifetime. You know, it doesn't really take away any of the pizzazz.
So are you like a Bible literalist? So like, the Garden of Eden was real, Adam and Eve were real, everything that was written was exact, or is it more interpretive? Is it more like
Both,
these are kind of both?
both different realms, different aspects of our reality that we exist within. You know, it's true in a metaphorical sense. Like Jesus is like was a man, was the son of God, but also the spirit of Jesus is new information. Love your brother, treat others the way you want to be treated, the golden rule. It was like a software update to all of humanity. So it was that. It's a metaphor for friendship and peacefulness and forgiveness, but it's also a real person too. And I think in the same sense, like, why do we give more credence to what manifests to our senses than to what only manifests inside of our head? Why do we know one is more important than the other? Why do I think that things like a real man called Jesus would be more important than the idea of Jesus or the metaphor
Right.
of Jesus? I don't know which one is more important, but I think they all exist in their own. There's plenty of room for all of that. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, we could talk for
it
hours. I want to have you
it
back
doesn't
on.
help you narrow anything. It doesn't help you narrow anything down to think that way, but it's a very honest way of thinking, admitting that you're like Socrates said, I know there's no man wiser than me, for I know that I know nothing. So
It's true. It's true. It's true. I mean, it's all ancient wisdom, philosophy. It's coming back
but
home, and
there is hope, brother, because the people who are the people who know these symbols demonstrate it. Great architects use these symbols. That people are out there using this stuff, so we can learn more about.
symbology is very very
Yeah,
embedded in the culture. People don't want to admit it, but it's everywhere.
it's available to us. All this information. It's just difficult to get to. It requires making strange life choices.
So, what do you think about? I mean, if we're talking about symbology and stuff like that, what do you think of like the Freemasonry and that kind of aspect of life?
Why are they so darn powerful? Is that, I mean, once you accept they are very powerful, I would say learn from it. George Washington was a Freemason. My understanding is Trump's father was a Freemason, and maybe Trump is. I don't think it necessarily makes you a good guy or a bad guy or anything like that. I think that I mean, they
They have some
understand
knowledge.
sacred. They understand the importance of sacred geometry and numbers. You know what I mean? Whether or not it's true that the sun is 180 times larger than the moon, but the moon is 180 times closer, and that's why they look the same size. Whether or not that happens to be true, they understand something about math that a mathematician won't be able to tell you the importance of. So these Masons know more about math than mathematicians because they can show you the whole process and what works and what doesn't, but they can't tell you the significance of some abstract mathematical theory. Meanwhile, a Freemason, they know the parts that work. I don't know if the sun is really 33.3 million light years away or if they just love that number. I don't know which came first, the cart or the horse, but they're connected in some sense, and those powerful people understand how. We can understand how. I feel like we're on the brink. I feel like that's what's 2020 vision, the Great Awakening instead of the Great Reset. I feel like we're right on the brink. We're looking directly at these things now, and they're coming into focus. You know what I mean? Like our eyes are adjusting to the dark, and we're about to actually see. I think if we want to, those who have the eyes will be able to see soon next year.
Well, earlier you said we're either on the precipice of like a new age of darkness and dystopia or a golden age. I mean, where are you leaning towards? What do you think if you had to make predictions? If you're a betting man?
Well, I would only bet for the outcome I want, which is why that's the only way I would bet. So I'm trying to manifest it in reality with my own thoughts. I'm not even entertaining the thought of a bad outcome because the powerful people on both sides who are waging this war, they care what I think. That's the reason they waste all this time and energy doing their mainstream media, doing their lies, doing their narratives, is because it's not just to control us. They already control us. They don't need to tell us anything. They could shut the TVs off entirely, and just when you walk out of your house, someone screams at you to go back inside, and 99% of people would. So they don't need to give us any of this media. They're doing it all at a loss. Netflix operates at a loss. They've never made a profit. they waste all their energy and resources trying to make us feel a certain way because it matters. So remember, when you get depressed, it's literally like treason. If you want a good outcome, you're on the army of good outcomes. You can only manifest that energy. You don't want to start following the enemy's plans, which is why it gets me so frustrated when patriots and well-intentioned people become black-pilled or a doomer or something like that. It's like you're doing the enemy's work for them. They're farming our beliefs and our emotions. They believe in it. It's another thing. Do I believe in it? They believe in it. They believe how I feel matters to the outcome. So I'm going to make sure I feel good.
It's the power of positive thinking, and I'm all about those white pills. I'm all about those white pills, man.
Sure.
But let's bring it down to conclude. I want to bring it back down to like more less ethereal matters. I know you're in California. Sure. I mean, I said we weren't going to talk about politics, but I have to ask you, what's going on out there? How's LA like? What's California like? Is it just living hell?
It's spread out enough that you can isolate yourself from the madness, but when you have to go into a store, it's right in your face. But LA is spread out enough, and it's a car culture, so you're usually in your car, or when you're outside, you have plenty of elbow room. Now, you're in New York, so I think in New York, you're really getting the full COVID experience more so than LA.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's a tight race between whose governor is more of a traitor. But I think
well, is he going to get recalled?
Say it again.
Is he going to get recalled?
Oh, he's going to get arrested, bro.
Okay. All right.
He's going to get arrested. He's dining with Chinese spies. Come on, get out of here.
Ah, good. Awesome. I mean,
where's Fang Fang? Why isn't she arrested? We electrocuted the Rosenbergs. Where's Fang
true.
Fang?
I don't know. Isn't she in China or something?
I don't know. Where's Eric Swalwell? Isn't he a traitor? I mean, what's going on?
California, man.
We're going to see some crazy stuff, man. Here's what people have as a normalcy bias. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. You see patterns repeat, and then you have a normalcy bias. When somebody prevents you with maybe something abnormal is going to happen, you say, yeah, maybe, but probably not because it hasn't before. Is Godzilla going to come out of the ocean right now while I'm watching sunset? I mean, he could, but probably not. But if he does, then I was wrong, So we operate under a normalcy bias all the time. But I believe we're going to see some very abnormal historical things happen very soon.
Next few months. I mean, I feel the same. I feel some things are definitely going to be crazy over the next few months. I mean, this year started off crazy, and it's only gotten crazier. So anything can happen. But this has been awesome. We're pushing up on the hour mark. This has been an awesome podcast. We talked about it.
That was fast, bro.
Right, good conversations. That we go through them quick. I mean, I pretty much covered everything I kind of wanted to.
We should have talked about more politics. Your viewers are going to think I'm just crazy.
No, I don't want to. That's the thing. I'm so sick of talking about politics. Like, I've been talking about politics like 20 episodes, and it's always about the election. It's just like there's only so many ways I could talk about this. I've said everything there's to be said. I want to just talk about other things that interest me, and all the stuff we talked about.
I've demonstrated the utility of thinking about things that don't directly tie into politics affecting the outcome of it. There is utility in thinking about everything and taking everything seriously and not being, like you said, arrogant.
Exactly, or single-minded, or just like one-track mind. Like you have to keep an open mind. You have to be willing to embrace different ideas, different viewpoints, and just talk them out. And even if you don't believe in them, I think it's healthy for you, and it's good for you to talk through things and talk out ideas. Because if you're closed-minded, you're done. You're a lemming, and we have tons of lemmings. We have tons of obedient lemmings right now. But I want to give the last word to you. Please let everyone know where they can follow you, your music, your social media, your social and political commentary, and whatever else you're doing.
Sure. So you can find me on Instagram as Venice Beach Dub Club, or if you just put in the initials VBDC, it's going to come up that way too. And I've got a link tree in my profile there. That's the easiest way to find everything, including my music, which is on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, everywhere. If you want to search directly for my music, you can also just put in VBDC. I made that the name of the album, so it'd be very searchable. And I've also got a YouTube, same name, Venice Beach Sub Club or VBDC, with music videos, exclusive content. I go live on Instagram 6 to 8 o'clock, 6 days a week, except for Sunday, for great interviews with people like Gavin and people not at all like Gavin, and all different kinds of people. So it's always a fun time. I got a new song called Music is Essential coming out in under 2 weeks, so everyone stay posted for that. And that's about it.
No, I highly recommend Talkie Time. It's great. You guys got great graphics, great speakers. It's always a good time. I really enjoy the format. And anyway, guys, stay tuned. You can follow us. Make sure you leave us a review on iTunes. Check us out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, the whole thing. And we will be coming to you soon with another episode. Seth, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, Kevin.